When we think about bacteria, our minds often jump to disease and illness, but it is important to realize that the majority of bacteria do not cause any harm to humans. In fact, many of the bacteria that do interact with our bodies actually help us in many useful ways. For example, there are trillions of bacterial cells living in your intestines at this very moment, working constantly to help you digest and break down your food so your body can absorb nutrients more efficiently. However, in this video, we're going to focus on the relatively small group of harmful bacteria that can infect humans and cause disease. If you remember from our earlier discussion on cells, bacteria are single-celled organisms and are significantly smaller than the cells in our own body, around 100 times smaller to be more precise. Even though they are incredibly tiny, they are capable of reproducing independently, and when they enter the human body, they tend to multiply extremely quickly, especially when they have access to plenty of food and nutrients in our tissues. While they grow and replicate, they often release harmful toxins into the surrounding tissues, and these toxins are responsible for making us feel unwell by damaging our healthy cells and interfering with the normal functioning of our organs. A common example of this is Salmonella, which is a type of bacteria that causes food poisoning. People can catch Salmonella by consuming food that has been contaminated with the bacteria, and the most common source is eating undercooked or raw chicken that was infected while it was still alive. Fortunately, in the United Kingdom, most chickens are vaccinated against Salmonella, which makes cases of infection much less common than they used to be. However, if someone does become infected, they will likely suffer from symptoms such as a fever, cramps in the stomach, vomiting, and diarrhea. These symptoms are especially related to the intestines, which is the main area of the body that Salmonella affects, which explains why people experience digestive problems. In most cases, the illness goes away on its own within about a week, and during this time, it is important for the person to rest, stay well hydrated, and keep a sick bowl nearby just in case. Another well-known bacterial disease is gonorrhea, which is classified as a sexually transmitted disease, also known as an STD. Like all other STDs, gonorrhea is spread through sexual contact, especially during unprotected intercourse. The primary symptoms of this disease include a painful sensation when urinating and an unusual discharge from the penis or the vagina, which may appear thick and yellow or sometimes even green in color. When we study any disease, it is always helpful to think of prevention and treatment as two separate strategies. For gonorrhea, the best way to prevent infection is by avoiding unsafe sexual practices and by using barrier methods of contraception such as condoms, which physically block the bacteria from passing between partners. As for treatment, we used to rely heavily on a common antibiotic known as penicillin, which was effective in curing the disease quickly and easily without any complications. However, over time, different types or strains of the gonorrhea bacteria have evolved, and many of them have developed resistance to penicillin. Antibiotic resistance means that the bacteria are no longer killed by the drugs that used to be effective against them. As a result, we are now forced to use less common and much more expensive antibiotics in order to successfully treat the infection. This growing problem of resistance highlights the importance of using antibiotics wisely and only when truly necessary. It also emphasizes why prevention through safe practices is often better than relying solely on cures.